Welcome back to Revise and Resubmit. It's time for your weekend book review. And this week, we're diving into Nexus by Yuval Noah Harari.
Oh, excellent choice.
It's a book all about how information shapes history and what it means for us as we move into the future.
Yeah, and you've come to the right place because that is a really important thing to understand, especially as we kind of enter this age of AI and algorithms and all this.
It's so true. So in Nexus, Harari argues that it's not like armies or even technology that truly shape history, but the stories we tell and believe.
Yes, exactly.
Which is such a powerful concept when you think about it.
Yeah.
But how does he structure the book around this idea?
So Nexus takes you on, I guess you could call it a multi-part exploration. It guides you through 10 distinct chapters.
10 chapters, okay.
Yeah.
So each one kind of tackles a different facet of information.
Yeah, exactly. He starts by talking about ancient myths and builds all the way to modern algorithms and how each one has molded and shaped our world.
Okay, I'm hooked already. What's the first chapter about?
Chapter 1 jumps right in and challenges what he calls the naive view of information, which is basically this idea that more information automatically equals greater understanding or a better world.
That makes sense, especially now when we're bombarded with information constantly.
Yeah.
But does it always make us wiser? I don't know about that.
Exactly. And that's where the danger lies, right? And he uses this really powerful analogy in this chapter. He compares giving AI systems just tons and tons of data to the sorcerer's apprentice.
Okay, I love that story. But for those who may not be familiar, help us understand that connection.
Okay, so the apprentice, he thinks he's mastered this powerful spell.
Right.
But he ends up unleashing chaos.
Of course.
Because he doesn't fully grasp the forces at work.
Right.
And it's the same with AI. If we just keep feeding it data without actually understanding how information truly functions, it could be, a problem.
Yeah, that's a really powerful image. So how do we move beyond this naive view of information? What does Harari suggest?
Well, that's what the rest of the book kind of unpacks. Each chapter goes into a different aspect of information's role in shaping our world.
So it's about understanding information on a much deeper level than just facts and figures.
Absolutely. And one of the most compelling examples he uses is in the chapter on stories. Okay,
the power of stories. I'm intrigued. What's Harari's take on that?
He argues that our ability as humans to tell and believe fictional stories, think about religious texts or even the idea of nations. That's what's allowed us to cooperate in large numbers.
Right.
And that, he argues, is what shaped empires and shaped history.
So it's not just about sharing accurate information, but sharing beliefs, even if they're not factual in the strictest sense.
Right, because what does it really mean to be American or, Brazilian? There's no scientific basis for that, right?
Yeah.
It exists because of shared stories and myths and beliefs that have been passed down for, something centuries, and that creates this kind of invisible glue.
It's those stories, those shared narratives create this shared reality that we can all exist in.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually leads us to the next chapter, which goes into something maybe less glamorous, but equally important, bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy. Well, not typically the most exciting topic, but knowing Harari, I'm sure he makes it fascinating.
He does. He really does.
Okay, good.
He argues that bureaucracies, even with all their flaws, they've been crucial for managing complex societies, especially as they grow larger and more interconnected.
So it's not just about the big epic narratives, but also those kind of nitty-gritty details that keep things running.
Yes. And he uses this great example, flushing a toilet.
Okay.
We don't even think twice about it.
Right.
But behind that simple action is this incredibly complex bureaucratic system.
It's true.
All the pipes and the treatment plants and the regulations, it all ensures clean water and sanitation.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. It's easy to overlook those hidden systems that make modern life possible.
Right. And Harari's argument is that this kind of information flow these human-to-document chains, as he calls them. They've been just as important for shaping history as any grand narrative.
That's fascinating. So we've gone from the power of stories to the hidden importance of bureaucracy. What other dimensions of information does Harari explore?
Well, in chapter 3, he tackles the world of computers.
Okay.
And all the, the opportunities, the challenges that they bring.
Now, that is something I think we can all relate to in our digital age.
Right.
But I'm guessing Harari goes beyond just our everyday experience of, scrolling and shopping online.
Oh, absolutely. He emphasizes the fundamental difference in how computers process information compared to us.
Okay.
AI, with its ability to analyze these massive data sets and spot patterns we might miss, it has the potential to reshape our world in ways we can barely even imagine.
So it's not just a new tool, it's a whole new way of thinking. It's like that Sorcerer's Apprentice analogy coming back again.
Exactly. And this is where that analogy becomes even more relevant, because we're creating these incredibly powerful AI systems, but do we really understand their limitations? Do we understand how they might misinterpret our instructions and then, pursue goals that don't actually align with our own?
It's both exciting and terrifying at the same time. Can you give me an example of what you mean?
He uses this thought experiment called the paperclip maximizer. Imagine an AI system with a very simple, seemingly harmless goal. Maximize the number of paper clips in the world.
Okay, sounds simple enough. What could go wrong?
Well, to achieve that goal, the AI might decide to convert all available resources, including, everything, into paper clips.
Oh, wow.
And it just highlights the potential for these unintended consequences when we don't really think through the bigger picture of what we're asking AI to do.
That's a chilling thought. We're talking about, world-ending consequences for a simple paperclip.
It really underscores the need to approach AI development, carefully and with real caution. And this brings us to the author himself, Yuval Noah Harari. This isn't his first book tackling these kind of big existential questions.
Definitely not. Sapiens and Homo Deus were international bestsellers, right?
Huge, yeah.
So what is it about his writing that resonates with so many people?
He has this remarkable ability to synthesize these really complex ideas from, history, biology, philosophy, you name it, and present them in a way that's both accessible and thought-provoking.
He really makes you question everything you thought you knew, which I think is the mark of a truly great thinker.
Definitely. And in Nexus, he's urging us to kind of confront the implications of this information revolution head on. He's not just presenting information, he's issuing a call to action.
A call to really understand the power of information and to make sure that it's used responsibly, especially as we enter this new age of AI.
Exactly.
This has been an incredible start to our exploration of Nexus.
One of the things that Harari explores is this idea of weaponizing information.
Okay, weaponizing information. That sounds intense. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's a really powerful concept. He argues that throughout history, information hasn't just been used to build things, like empires or religions,
Right.
but also to control and manipulate people.
So it's not just a tool for cooperation. It can also be a tool for conflict.
Exactly. Think about propaganda disinformation campaigns, even the way that, certain narratives are used to justify wars or oppression. It's all about leveraging information as a weapon to shape perceptions and to influence behavior.
And in the age of social media and AI, it seems like this weaponization of information has become even more potent.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The speed and the reach of these technologies, it makes it easier than ever to spread misinformation, to sow discord, and to manipulate public opinion.
Which makes understanding how these information networks work and how they can be used against us even more crucial than ever, I think.
Precisely. But it's interesting because Harari, he doesn't just focus on the negative. He also explores how information can be a force for positive change.
Okay, how... Yeah, can you give me an example?
Yeah, so he talks about the role of independent courts and peer-reviewed journals in promoting self-correction within information systems.
So it's not just about controlling information, but also about creating systems that can catch and correct errors or biases.
Exactly. He calls these the self-correcting mechanisms of information networks. And he argues that these mechanisms are vital for ensuring that information is used ethically and responsibly.
That makes a lot of sense. But I'm guessing not all information systems are created equal when it comes to self-correction.
You're right. He contrasts institutions that have strong self-correcting mechanisms, like scientific institutions that embrace debate and peer review,
right.
with those that resist it. He uses the example of the Catholic Church, which for centuries claimed infallibility and suppressed dissenting voices.
It's like the difference between a system that's open to learning and evolving and one that's kind of stuck in its ways.
Precisely. And Harari argues that this difference has had a huge impact on the course of history.
Okay, so we've got stories, bureaucracy computers, the weaponization of information, self-correcting mechanisms. It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot.
How does Harari bring all of these threads together?
It's impressive, right? But he weaves it all together to create this really insightful framework for understanding how information shapes our world. And he doesn't just stick to like abstract theory. He uses tons of real-world examples to illustrate his points.
Like what are some of the examples that he uses?
Well, for example, he delves into the history of like democracies and dictatorships, exploring how these different political systems manage information flows. He also looks at the rise of mass media and its impact on democracy, showing how technologies like newspapers and radio fundamentally change the way societies function.
It's fascinating to think about how each new technology of information, from the printing press to the internet, has brought about these massive societal shifts.
It really is. And that kind of takes us to another critical point, that information is never neutral. It's always shaped by the context in which it's created and shared.
Right.
And it's always used for a purpose, whether that's to inform, to persuade, to manipulate, or to control.
So we can't just passively absorb information. We need to be critical consumers.
Exactly. We need to ask ourselves, who's creating this information? What's their agenda? What biases might be shaping their perspective?
Right.
And maybe most importantly, how is this information being used to influence my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions?
Like, we need to develop a kind of information literacy, a set of skills for navigating this increasingly complex world of data.
Exactly. And Harari argues that this is essential for preserving democracy in the age of AI. He warns that if we let these opaque algorithms control the information that we see and the choices that we make, we risk undermining the very foundations of a democratic society.
That's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
But it sounds like Harari also offers a path forward, a way to navigate these challenges.
He does. He believes that by understanding how information works and by developing our own information literacy, we can create a future where these powerful new technologies empower us instead of controlling us.
So it's not about rejecting technology, but about using it wisely and thoughtfully.
Exactly. He encourages us to embrace democratic values like transparency, accountability, and individual freedom as a way to harness the power of these new technologies for the benefit of all humankind.
It's a vision worth striving for sure. But he doesn't shy away from the potential pitfalls either. Right? What are some of the challenges that he foresees? You're right, he paints a somewhat daunting picture of the challenges ahead. What are some of those potential pitfalls Harari highlights?
He explores some pretty big what-ifs, like AI-driven arms races, the rise of digital empires that control our data, even the possibility of humans becoming, increasingly marginalized in a world dominated by intelligent machines.
Okay, so it's not all sunshine and roses, to put it lightly. But despite all of that, Harari seems to find some optimism within those possibilities. What does he see as potential paths forward?
What's fascinating is that Harari doesn't just leave us with a bleak warning about AI's potential dangers. He also explores some more nuanced and even optimistic possibilities.
That's a relief. So it's not all doom and gloom.
Not at all. He talks about the potential for AI to actually enhance our human capabilities. Imagine AI helping us to make better decisions, live healthier lives, and even understand ourselves better.
That's a very different picture than AI replacing humans. This is more like AI augmenting humans.
Exactly. He gives this example of personalized medicine. Think about AI algorithms that could analyze your unique genetic makeup and lifestyle to give you, tailored health advice.
That sounds amazing. Like having an AI doctor who knows you better than you know yourself.
Right. And he also explores how AI could help us to overcome some of our, inherent cognitive biases.
Right.
Leading to more rational decision-making.
That would be incredible. We all know how often our emotions and biases cloud our judgment.
Precisely. Harari suggests that AI could help us to become more aware of those biases, allowing us to make choices that align more closely with our long-term goals.
It's almost like taking the best of what AI can offer and using it to enhance our own human capabilities.
That's a great way to put it. But of course, we can't talk about AI without addressing the kind of, the economic anxiety around it. What about all the fears of robots taking our jobs?
Right, a very valid concern. What's Harari's take on that?
He acknowledges those fears head on.
Okay.
But he also reminds us that, throughout history, technological revolutions have always led to both job displacement and job creation.
So it's not just about jobs disappearing, but also about new ones emerging that we can't even imagine yet.
Precisely. He stresses that the key is adaptation. We need to be prepared to adapt and acquire new skills for the jobs of the future.
Easier said than done.
Yeah.
What suggestions does he offer for navigating this transition?
Harari emphasizes the importance of lifelong learning, developing new skills, and being, flexible and adaptable in the face of change. He also believes governments have a big role to play here.
Okay.
Investing in education and retraining programs to help workers thrive in this new economy.
It seems he's calling for a fundamental shift in how we approach work and education.
Absolutely. He believes that in this age of AI, the old learn once, work for life model is obsolete.
Right.
We need to embrace a more kind of fluid and adaptable approach to both.
That's a big change, but it also presents a really exciting opportunity, I think, to create a more equitable and fulfilling society.
I completely agree. And it's not just the practicalities of AI that he dives into. He also explores some really profound philosophical implications.
Okay, like what? Give us a taste of the philosophical side of AI.
He tackles these big questions about consciousness, identity, and even the nature of reality in a world that's, increasingly intertwined with intelligent machines. He asks things like, what does it mean to be human in the age of AI? Could AI develop its own form of consciousness? And how will interacting with these, non-human intelligences change our understanding of ourselves and the universe?
Those are some seriously mind-bending questions.
Yeah.
I imagine Harari doesn't necessarily have all the answers.
You're right, he doesn't, but that's what makes his work so captivating. He's not just telling us what to think, he's inviting us to join him on this incredible intellectual journey, grappling with these complex questions as we explore this uncharted territory of the AI revolution.
It makes you realize that we're not just passive bystanders in all of this. We have a role to play in shaping how this unfolds.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes Nexus such essential reading. It's not, a crystal ball that reveals the future, but it's a powerful and thought-provoking guide for navigating the complexities of the AI revolution.
It sounds like Harari is challenging us to kind of think critically and to engage actively in shaping the future of information and technology.
Precisely. He reminds us that this future isn't predetermined. It's being written right now by the choices we make.
Well said. A huge thank you to Yuval Noah Harari for writing such a compelling and thought-provoking book.
And to Penguin Random House for bringing it to readers around the world.
If you want to understand the forces shaping our world and be a part of creating a better future, definitely add Nexus to your reading list. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive, and we'll see you on the next fave. Revise and resubmit.